In 2016, the government, through the Ministry of Roads and Highways, closed portions of the Aburi stretch to allow for the fencing of the rocks that are on the side of the stretch to prevent any eventuality in case the rocks fall off. And this was done within 5 months. Afterwards, 3 years after, we recorded an unfortunate situation where portions of the rocks had fallen off, although it had been fenced by the Highways Authority. Well, this was a major concern to a lot of people. At that time, authorities indicated that the situation was as a result of a downpour that had occurred over the period. But was that really the case? Some stakeholders also raised other concerns of human activities on the vegetation. They had indicated that people had been constructing at places they were not meant to do so. Well, fast forward in 2023, a similar situation has occurred where some portions of the rocks have been seen to have falling off. This time not too dire as we saw some years back, but then authorities are worried about the situation. They are still hammering on the fact that people are building at wrong places. And from where I stand now, I'm sure you can see a lot of construction works that are being done by private developers on the vegetation, which should have been left as a buffer. So the Eastern Regional Minister, Seth Kwame Champon, has been reacting to the human activities that is hampering the vegetation here. And he says that private developers must take full responsibility of what they do.
We have spoken to the owners of this property. This is a private property, and they need to, as a matter of urgency, raise a solid defense wall which will help protect the remaining properties here. Subsequent to that, I'm sure engineers are going to come around to certify the structures, to test them to see if indeed the structures are durable to stand the test of time, or some actions needs to be taken on them. That aside, the contractor who is working to is also being met to ensure that he speeds up his work, so we do not have a future occurrence. For us, the main important thing to us is to protect life and property. So this defense wall is very key to us, and we are going to ensure that it is developed as soon as practicable. You can find with me my regional NADMO director. That is why he's here, because we have to ensure that lives are protected. The municipal chief executive is with me, the municipal engineer is also with me. All of them are here helping us to put together what needs to be done immediately to protect property and life.
So to get more insight on this particular development, Citi News has been interacting with a geologist on what he makes of the situation and the solution going forward.
These rocks are they are rocks that are not stable. Initially, they shouldn't have been a problem because we had vegetation cover on it. But due to the constructions that we have done, we have exposed these weak materials. And these weak materials that we have exposed over time, they're still going to come out of where they are originally because of the initial weakness that they have. I can see that some level of mass wasting solution has been put on those rocks. That is, we have I think there's a wire mesh that we've used to protect section of the rocks. And once we have the road there, and then we have degradation of land and people continuously building on top of the mountain and exposing all these weak rocks to the surface, this mass movement is not going to stop. So until there's an intervention by government, so that when people are building, they follow building codes and building standards, also taking into cognizance the kind of geology we have there, this problem is going to persist.
Halfway through from the Eyim Mensa toll booth all the way through to the Peduase Lodge stretch, you see some heaped sand on the left side of the road and also some stones that have, packed itself, and that's because we understand that this particular situation happened when the sun came from the top of the stretch, and that's because human activities have also been hampering the vegetation of the stretch.
My first time, I was wondering why the nets have been used to cover the rocks. And then it occurred to me that possibly they are trying to avoid a situation where if the rocks fall, I don't know how safe it would be with the nets. So maybe assuming the rock breaks off and then it's coming down, is the net enough to stop it from rolling onto the road? And people, it's a highway. So yeah, so for me, what I'm actually wondering is whether the nets are heavy enough to hold the rocks in position. And with regards to safety, should they fall off? I don't know which kind of engineers did this thing, but maybe in their assessments, the nets are enough to hold any rock, no matter the size, in position from falling down on any car or vehicle or anything. So that's my opinion. So I think maybe it's safe to the extent that perhaps it won't come down as suddenly as one would expect it to. Maybe the rocks will be enough to slow its momentum to the ground, and maybe, I don't know, a car will be fast enough to swerve it or something.
Well, as soon as I started, right, over there you see that everything was natural. But as soon as I climb, I'm not criticizing, but you see this stuff here? There's a more development on the sides of the road. It poses a challenge, environmental challenge, you know what I'm saying? So on that side, for instance, this is a little bit too close. But what they did, I think they can improve on it too, because it's out of our control right now. You can't tell people to, don't encroach. But what we can do is maybe improve on the netting and, for people's safety. That is what I think they should.
Finally, on encroachment also, because these people, we understand, have been told not to build there.
Exactly. Yeah. They should enforce it. Ghana, we talk, but we don't enforce it. I don't want to, you see, we saw beautiful forest right there, and then we jump over here and then you see all this stuff. The government has to step in and do something. This is natural. This is all we have left. You know what I'm saying? This month, if this thing is not here, what else? So they can improve on it. All the inhabitants, the animals, you won't see anything.